Have you ever wondered why a man who seems to have everything, the career, the status, the admiration, can still radiate an aura of profound, inner desolation? Why his successes feel hollow, his laughter rings with a silent echo of despair, and his presence, though physically imposing, feels emotionally vacant? This is the landscape of a man at war with himself, a man who has committed the ultimate act of self-betrayal, the rejection of his own soul. In the language of Carl Jung, he has rejected his anima, the inner feminine principle, the very wellspring of feeling, creativity, and connection to life itself. He has mistaken her for weakness, a chaotic force to be subdued, controlled, and locked away in the deepest dungeon of his psyche. He believes he is building an empire of logic and strength, a fortress of stoic invulnerability. But a fortress built to keep the world out ultimately becomes a prison. And within this self-made prison, a unique and insidious psychological hell begins to fester, one that he himself cannot name, yet one that will eventually consume him from the inside out. He walks through life as a ghost, haunted by the feminine soul he has tried to murder, unaware that in doing so, he has only murdered his own capacity for joy, for meaning, and for true, authentic power. His life becomes a meticulously curated performance of masculinity. He mistakes rigidity for strength, emotional suppression for discipline, and conquest for connection. He builds his ego like a skyscraper, each floor another achievement, another accolade, another display of control. From the outside, he is the archetype of success, the man who has conquered the world. But inside, the king sits on his throne in a cold, empty hall. There is no music, no color, no life. He has exiled the court musician, the painter, the poet, all the faces of his anima. He fears her fluidity, her intuition, her nonlinear wisdom. He worships at the altar of logos, the masculine principle of reason, while demonizing eros, the feminine principle of relatedness and connection. This internal schism creates a man who can analyze a spreadsheet but cannot read the emotional landscape of his own heart. He can command a boardroom but is a complete stranger to the territory of his own soul. And perhaps you have felt the chill of this inner emptiness. You may have stood before this man, offering the warmth of your own emotional world, only to watch it dissipate against the cold stone walls of his defenses, wondering why your love could not reach him. The tragedy is that he is not rejecting you, he is rejecting the very part of himself that is capable of receiving love at all. This rejected internal life does not simply vanish. The energy of the anima, like all psychic energy, cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed or repressed. When a man refuses to engage with his inner feminine consciously, he is doomed to encounter her unconsciously, and almost always, through projection. He will skin the external world for a woman who can carry the unbearable weight of his own disowned soul. He does not see you. He sees the screen upon which he can project his idealized goddess, his wounded inner child, his feared seductress, or his longed-for mother. You become the vessel for everything he cannot and will not acknowledge within himself. In the beginning, this feels intoxicating. He worships you. He places you on a pedestal so high the air is thin, telling you that you are his salvation, his muse, the missing piece of his life. He showers you with an intensity that feels like love but is, in fact, a desperate act of psychic transference. He is not loving you, he is trying to merge with a phantom, an externalized image of his own lost anima. This is the first stage of his hell, and it is a hell he invites you into. He needs you to hold his soul for him because he is terrified to hold it himself. The pedestal he builds for you is not a throne, it is a cage. And what happens when you, a living, breathing, complex woman, inevitably fail to live up to the impossible standard of a projected ghost? The pedestal cracks. The goddess reveals her human flaws, her own needs, her own shadow. The mask of his idealization slips, and what lies beneath is its terrifying opposite, demonization. The same intensity with which he once worshipped you now turns to contempt, criticism, and blame. He accuses you of being too emotional, too needy, too chaotic, precisely the qualities he fears and represses in himself. He makes you the scapegoat for his own inner emptiness. The silence in his soul, which was there long before you arrived, is now a void you are accused of creating. Do you see the insidious nature of this trap? He outsources his inner work to you, and when you cannot solve the equation of his soul for him, he condemns you for the failure. This swing from idealization to devaluation is the hallmark of a man who has no stable, internal relationship with his own feminine nature. He is a ship without an anchor, tossed violently on the waves of his own projections, and he will try with all his might to convince you that you are the storm. He needs an external enemy to distract from the civil war raging within. This is the torment of the shallow life. He exists only on the surface, a two-dimensional man in a three-dimensional world. His conversations skim across topics of work, money, and status, the quantifiable metrics of the ego. But mention meaning, vulnerability, or the mysterious aches of the heart, and you will see a flicker of panic in his eyes before the walls go back up. He is terrified of depth, because in the depths of his own psyche resides the anima he has abandoned. To feel is to risk being overwhelmed. To be vulnerable is to risk annihilation. His entire psychic structure is built around the avoidance of this perceived threat. He becomes addicted to distraction, endless work, excessive drinking, casual encounters, anything to drown out the silent scream of his own soul demanding to be heard. As Seneca wisely observed, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. But this man cannot enjoy the present, because the present is where feelings live. He is always striving, always chasing the next goal, believing that fulfillment lies just over the horizon. But upon reaching it, the emptiness is still there, waiting for him, a faithful dog of his own making. The hell is not that he fails to find happiness, it's that he is running from the very source of it. You might feel an overwhelming urge to rescue him from this self-inflicted torment. Your empathy, a hallmark of the integrated feminine, sees his pain beneath the brittle armor. You believe that if you just love him enough, if you are patient enough, if you can show him the beauty of the emotional world he fears, you can heal him. This is a noble but dangerous fantasy. You cannot undertake his journey of individuation for him. You cannot do his shadow work. Trying to be the light that illuminates his darkness will only lead to you burning out. His rejection of his anima is not a problem you can solve, it is a sacred, terrifying, and solitary journey he must choose for himself. Your role is not to be his therapist, his savior, or the collateral damage of his internal war. Your responsibility is to your own soul, your own integration. The most powerful thing a woman can do in the face of such a man is to refuse to be the screen for his projections. She must reclaim her own image, refusing to be his goddess or his demon, and stand firmly in the complex, beautiful reality of who she is. This act of radical self-possession is often the only catalyst that can force him to finally look within. When the external vessel, the woman he has projected his soul onto, removes herself, his psychological hell intensifies. The mirror is gone, and he is left alone with his own reflection. The emptiness he was trying to fill with her presence now yawns into a chasm. The silence he was trying to outrun with drama and conflict now becomes deafening. This is a critical juncture. Many men will simply flee, immediately seeking a new screen, a new distraction, another woman to carry the weight of their unlived life. They will repeat the cycle, each time becoming more hollow, more brittle, more disconnected from their core. Their lives become a string of serialized projections, leaving a wake of confused and wounded women behind them. They become masters of the beginning, the intoxicating phase of idealization, but are utterly incapable of navigating the deeper, more authentic stages of true relationship. They are chasing a feeling, not building a connection. They are seeking a temporary anesthetic for a chronic spiritual disease. The pain he experiences is real, but its source is entirely internal. It is the agony of a soul starving in the midst of material plenty, a self-imposed famine of the heart. But for some, this crisis becomes an opportunity. The breakdown precedes the breakthrough. When the external world no longer offers a viable escape, the only direction left to go is inward. This is the dark night of the soul that mystics and poets have described for centuries. It is a terrifying descent into the underworld of his own psyche. Here, he must finally confront the anima he has rejected. She is no longer the idealized, gentle muse he might have imagined. Decades of repression have twisted her into a figure of rage and sorrow. She appears in his dreams as a terrifying gorgon, a weeping ghost, or a seductive siren luring him toward destruction. This is the anima's revenge. She embodies all the emotional chaos he has tried to control. She floods his rational mind with irrational moods, inexplicable anxieties, and a profound sense of meaninglessness. His carefully constructed ego fortress begins to crumble. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that men are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. The man in this hell is being disturbed by the notion that his feelings, his intuition, his very soul, are his enemy. To find peace, he must surrender the war and learn that she was never the enemy at all. This internal confrontation is his initiation. It is a process of dismantling the false self he has built and allowing a more authentic self to emerge. It is the alchemical process of solutio, a dissolving of the hardened ego into the waters of the unconscious. He must learn to listen to the whispers of his soul, to value feeling as a form of intelligence, and to embrace the vulnerability he once saw as the ultimate weakness. This is shadow work. He must own the parts of himself he has projected onto others, his moodiness, his neediness, his chaos. He must recognize that the demons he fought in the women he loved and left were his own demons in disguise. This is an excruciatingly painful process. It requires immense courage to admit that the entire foundation of one's life has been built on a false premise. It means grieving the lost years, the shallow connections, and the squandered potential for a life of depth and meaning. It is a death and a rebirth. He must kill the boy who needs a woman to be his mother, his goddess, his savior, so that the man who can meet a woman as a whole and equal partner can be born. This is the path of individuation, the journey towards psychological wholeness. And where are you in this epic psychodrama? You are free. The moment you realize that his torment is not your responsibility, that his healing is not your project, a profound liberation occurs. You withdraw your energy from the futile task of trying to fill his inner void, and you turn that powerful, life-giving energy back toward yourself. You begin your own process of integration. You look at your animus, your own inner masculine, and you ask, have I been projecting him? Have I been looking for a man to provide the structure, the direction, the validation that I must learn to provide for myself? A woman who consistently attracts men who are disconnected from their anima often has a disowned animus. She may undervalue her own logic, her own agency, her own power in the world. She seeks in him the masculine strength she has not yet cultivated in herself. His crisis becomes your clarifying mirror. His inability to see you becomes the catalyst for you to see yourself with radical clarity. You stop asking, how can I fix him? And you start asking, what part of me was attracted to this incompleteness, and how can I become whole within myself? This is the beginning of true sovereignty. Your focus shifts from analyzing his emotionally charged behavior to analyzing your own. You become a student of your own psyche. You walk into your own inner world and you begin the sacred work of making the unconscious conscious. You no longer need his validation because you learn to validate yourself. You no longer fear his disapproval because you learn to approve of yourself. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You realize his emotional turmoil is an outside event. Your peace, your worth, your stability, these are the domain of your mind, your inner kingdom. You cultivate a stillness within you, an unshakable core of self-worth that is not contingent on being chosen, desired, or idealized by a man who is at war with his own soul. You learn the profound difference between being wanted for who you are and being used as a placeholder for a ghost he is chasing. This discernment is your superpower. It is the sword that cuts the energetic cords of projection and frees you from the cycle of his pain. You find a richness in your own solitude, a depth in your own emotional landscape. Your life begins to have color, music, and poetry, all generated from within. The man who rejects his anima creates a vacuum, and he will desperately try to pull you into it. He operates from a place of scarcity, believing love and validation are finite resources to be extracted from others. But the woman who has done her inner work, who has integrated her own masculine and feminine energies, operates from a place of abundance. She is a wellspring, not a drain. She understands that her value is inherent, not assigned. She is no longer auditioning for the role of his missing half because she is already whole. She can engage with a man, love a man, but her core identity is not fused with his. She can stand with him in his fire without getting burned, because her own inner waters keep her cool and centered. She sees his projection for what it is, a symptom of his own soul sickness, and she meets it not with anger or a desire to fix, but with compassionate detachment. She sends him peace for his journey but refuses to accompany him into his hell. Her boundaries are not walls to keep love out, they are the sacred gates of a temple, and only those who are whole and respectful may enter. She understands that the greatest gift she can give him is the gift of his own reality, forcing him to face the emptiness he has created so that he might, one day, choose to fill it from within. He may see this detachment as cruelty. He may accuse you of being cold or selfish, for you are no longer willing to regulate his emotions or manage his inner chaos. This is the final, desperate gambit of the projecting ego. It attempts to guilt you back into the dysfunctional dance. But the woman who knows her worth understands that her primary responsibility is to the truth. And the truth is, his emotions are his. His journey is his. Your peace is yours. This is not selfishness, it is the highest form of energetic integrity. You honor the boundary between two sovereign souls. You wish him well, from a distance, understanding that his greatest chance for healing lies in the space you have created by your absence. In that space, he can no longer blame, project, or escape. In that space, he must finally confront the man in the mirror and the feminine soul he has locked away. Whether he rises to that challenge is not your concern. Your concern is your own continued unfolding, your own becoming. You have walked through the fire of his projection and emerged not scarred, but purified. You have learned the alchemical secret, that which stands in the way becomes the way. His rejection of his inner world has led you to the glorious discovery of your own. This journey transforms you from a participant in someone else's drama to the creator of your own epic life. You find that the qualities you may have once sought in a man, strength, stability, purpose, have been growing within you all along. Your integrated animus provides the structure for your life, while your radiant anima fills it with beauty, connection, and meaning. You become a force of nature, both grounded and flowing, like a river that is both powerful and yielding. You are no longer half of a whole, searching for your counterpart. You are the whole itself. The peace that follows this realization is not a fragile, transient state dependent on external conditions. It is a deep, abiding stillness that comes from within. It is the fruit of radical self-acceptance and the courage to face your own shadow. You are no longer a victim of attraction dynamics. You are a conscious architect of your relationships. You attract not from a place of need, but from a place of wholeness, drawing to you a man who has also undertaken his own sacred inner journey. Or, you find a profound and joyful completeness in your own sovereign being. The hell a man endures when he rejects his soul is a tragedy of his own making, a lesson the universe is trying to teach him. You have learned your own lesson. You have learned that your worth is not a negotiation. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.